There it is. Thank you. All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God.
Next item is the consent agenda. Approve the following items as included in the consent agenda. 6A, the meeting minutes from the October 5th Board of Education meeting, and 7A, the special education packet. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Yes.
Wow, big fit. I'll let Karen do that.
How about Daniel and Colleen? And then
Any exceptions before we vote? All in favor? Right. Opposed? Motion passed 7, 4, or I'm sorry, 6. Yes, 0, no. For good of the cause. Anyone present like to make any public comment? Any emails, Karen?
No.
Okay. We shall continue right on. The reports. Mr. Seymour, would you like to introduce our guests?
I would be honored. So it is rare that you get more than one superintendent in a room together. I'm tempted to do the secret handshake, Diane, but you know, COVID, this doesn't feel right. So suffice to say, very pleased to have you here to speak about the excellent work that I know you're doing at Saranac Lake. And Erica, certainly a pleasure to have you here with us as well. So, you know, the floor is yours. Tell us about the community schools initiative that you've been working on. And from our perspective, we're keen to learn as we're looking to support our students in myriad ways as well.
Hey everyone, I'm Erica Bazzaio. I am the community school liaison for the Saranac Lake Central School District, and this is Diane Cox, our superintendent. And we are honored to be here tonight to speak with you about the community school model and what it looks like just 9 short miles away. So I'm going to give you a little Reader's Digest version of what a community school is. And it is a collaborative strategy that organizes community resources for student support and their family's well-being. The school serves as a hub and strengthens our neighborhood, families, students, and our community. So it's not just student services, we reach families and community members. We strive to address inequities and help increase student achievement. So you will see Vanna here has a rotary phone. And this is an excellent example of a school 25 years ago, really 2 functions, phone call in and phone call out. And that was sort of the model for schools also, bring students in and educate them and send them home. Well, now, many of you might even have your phone in your hand right now. It is no longer a 1 function or 2 function tool. So it is our entertainment, it is our calendar, our connecting to our community, our friends, and our family. And that's really the model of community school work. It is the same. All those little apps on your phone are all the little initiatives that we are doing for the betterment of all. And so the work is providing integrated student supports, mental, dental, physical, social, emotional well-being supports, community and family engagement opportunities. We seek to provide expanded and extended learning opportunities and shared leadership. So it's really an all-encompassing model. You'll see the brochure on the top page gives you those 4 pillars that I just pulled out. Now, the why. So the question really becomes why invest in community schools? Because it is an investment. And we noticed that our Saranac Lake population is shrinking, but the loss isn't spread evenly among income levels. Middle income jobs are leaving our community and are not being replaced. So if data, one of the things he would tell you is that for our state of reporting each year.
No, why? Crazy.
Well,
It's still there too. This is annoying.
I don't understand. Yeah, he's supposed.
you too.
On board present, interrupting presentations now. Have you noticed they didn't start?
Yes.
Sorry,
I'm
guys.
so sorry.
We've had a technical issues thing that we used to throw up on good night and stuff. And in the back. Anybody else watch old TV?
Joan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
She's muted.
Okay.
Okay.
And Colleen, you can hear us? Colleen, can you hear?
Yes, I can now. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Hang on.
Sorry. So crazy.
I would like to say this is all new to me. This is making me feel right at home.
You always invite Linus to the front. Just makes us feel better.
Colleen, can you hear us now? Can you speak?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
All right, thank you, Joe. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Don't go away.
Yeah, don't go far.
So one of the things we have to collect for state ed data is we have to ask the top 5 employers within our district boundaries what their staffing levels look like. And so in 2012, the 5 top employers in our district employed 1,895 people. That's Adirondack Medical Center, American Management Association, Paul Smith College, North Country Community College, and Trudeau Institute. In 2020, because I don't have this year's figures, these same top employers employed 1,220 people, a loss of 575 jobs and 36% of their workforce in that time period. That doesn't include the correctional facilities. I don't have longevity for the correctional facilities, but they've lost about 25% between 2018 and 2020. But the drop in correctional facilities actually happened before that 2018 number. So we're watching those jobs that offer benefits, time off, stability for families disappearing and not coming back in the door anyplace else. So although the population is shrinking, the needs of those in our school community are actually growing. The number of students who are receiving free and reduced lunch exceeded 50% last year.
10 years ago, that percentage was 31%. So one of the things we've looked at, and I gave it to you, is this ALICE survey that is done by the United Way. And ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained but Employed. So a lot of times we talk about the unemployment rate, the poverty group. But what we actually have in our communities are the working poor, people who don't qualify as poverty, therefore don't qualify for a lot of the social supports that go along with that, but they don't make enough to actually be out of a stress-free financial situation. They're one crisis away from being unable to survive. And that's really the group we are trying to target. Our families that do live below the poverty level do have community supports. But our families who live above the poverty level but aren't really able to sustain a wealth that is healthy, often don't know where to turn for supports and don't have them already built in. If you haven't seen the ALICE report, there's a lot to it, and it's got the website to go see the full report, but it's really interesting. It breaks down your county, and it breaks down the county by actually to subdivisions in the county. You can kind of take a look at the different parts, and they do it for the state and all the different places. So if someday you're wondering what to do with 15 minutes, this is really an interesting report, and they've done it for years, so you can watch the changes over time. So as Erica said, we are really doing this to integrate our student supports, expand our learning opportunities, and also connect with families in the community. A lot of our families that fall into that ALICE category had some struggles during school and perhaps don't have the best relationship with the school district. So they don't naturally turn to the school district to help them with their particular needs. So we really focus on reaching out and meeting that group wherever they might be, helping bring them into the opportunities that we have for them. So I'm going to move right into the how, because so how do we do this work? We don't receive any set aside funds in our state aid for community schools like some districts do. We did a lot of exploration. The school board was very involved. In my district, we have a saying that Diane voluntold me, which means they say, hey, I've got this great opportunity. When you like to the meetings at 4, I look forward to seeing you there. And so we did a lot of voluntolding with our administrative supervisory unions, as many people as I could say, wouldn't you like to volunteer? Here's your ticket, come in the door. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Did a lot of work on why community schools and what that would look like. And the board really supported the work by supporting Erica's position, the community school liaison. We do have a small budget also through our local funds. We use our Title I money also. Every year, Title's a little different. So some years she gets more money out of the Title grant, sometimes less. Part of what we found though is that this work is really an opportunity to advocate for your community, because we see things going on in the community globally where other pockets might not see it like we do, working with so many organizations. And one of the things that stood out to us is that most services are at the county seat. So being that we have Clinton, Essex, and Franklin County are covered in our district, families that need support have to travel to Malone, Plattsburgh, or Elizabethtown. 2 hours round trip for a family that's already struggling financially doesn't make any sense. So we really felt our job was also to advocate for the needs in our community and try to encourage some of these county organizations to come into Saranac Lake. And early on, somebody said to us, you ought to look at the tax, the tax income for Franklin County, because what you'll notice is most of the taxes come from our area, but go to support the organizations that are actually working in Malone. And that she brought me some data, and that is in fact what was happening. So we really worked to change that, to say, hey, we're here too, we have needs too, and we need to be part of that picture. So one of the things I think comes out of this is you have to have faith. If you're a Field of Dreams, my husband's a big sports guy, and they did the Field of Dreams game this year. If you build it, they will come. If you are investing in the stock market, investing in community schools gets you a huge return on your investment. It's a little bit in to get a lot. And so I just have a quick list here of what's happening in our district at no cost to us. It's things that the only cost are some services in kind. We don't charge rent. We offer office space, but very minimal costs. The JCEO, which is the Joint Council for Economic Opportunity, has a staff member full-time embedded in the high school with us, as is their community food pantry. So our families have access to a food pantry Monday through Friday. There's one downtown in Saranac Lake on Saturday. It really offers an expanded opportunity for food, but they do many other things beyond that. The YMCA has partnered with us and offers before and after school childcare right at Petrova. Citizens Advocates is working with us to provide a school-based clinician for students. And this happens in many districts where they come and they work only with the students that are already on their caseload. But we've been able to embed them so that they come to our student study teams in each building each week. So they're part of the team rather than just coming in the door to their office and meeting with those children. They're part of the support team in each building. Community Connections of Franklin County has embedded a full-time family advocate in the district. And Erica does a lot of work with other organizations, which allows us to partner and have knowledge of the opportunities that are out there and somebody to do some of that work. We may think that's a great grant, but who's going to take it on? Nobody has time to do that. We have somebody who has time to do that. And just recently, we partnered with Community Services of Franklin County for a grant. They were awarded a grant worth $4 million over 4 years, and that grant is going to support 2 full-time positions in our district. One's a care coordinator, and the other's a full-time school-based counselor. So when you start adding up what we are receiving as services in the Saranac Lake area for the cost of that, of a single person and some additional funds, that doesn't even begin to include the grant work that we get and a lot of donations from different areas and people who see our work and donate directly to it. So I encourage you to think more globally as to your cost benefit to actually supporting a position that runs your community schools. And Erica's going to talk a little bit about that, the who. That's an important piece of this work.
So the community school model can be developed for the best practices of your community. No 2 community schools are the same. And if you look at the national model for community schools, it often has a backbone organization who's running the work. So the YMCA, the JCC, the Boys and Girls Club often, or the United Way, run this programming for school districts. But that's clearly not the model for Saranac Lake. So it really is whatever works best for your family. I am a teacher on special assignment, so I get the gift of 12 months employment for 10 months work. So a classroom teacher works 10 months. I work the same number of hours over 12 months because the work doesn't change in the summer. In fact, it often gets bigger because students don't have the regular supports of their routine. Food, knowing breakfast is going to be there. The weekend backpack program we now push out in the summer because we know those challenges are still there for our families. And a second community school coordinator has been just hired. Well, tomorrow is and this person is going to be a civil service employee. So we come from 2 different backgrounds, but our work is really the same. And she is going to be such a gift to our families and our students. But any research that you do, whether it's through NICET or the National Community School Model Programming, is going to tell you the same thing. You need a coordinator. And I will say that it's a gift because when you get 58 emails from however many organizations a week, sometimes you're like, or like unread, right? Because it's impossible for the superintendent to manage that. And they all want the superintendent, right? Like that's the go-to person. And so I then get the 58 emails, and some of them I'm like, oh, I'm already in that group. Hey, nice to see you. I'll see you at the meeting, right? I'm representing the school, or I take that project on. And so it is a gift that way also, and for your administrators, because they get the same, right? Or the same questions. I want to mail this flyer out to every student. We have a protocol for that, and I can be that person who sends the protocol to the organization. So there's a lot of little work. There's two sides to the work. There's the face-to-face daily work, creating family swim nights, but then there's the business side to this job where I have to know how to use WinCap and work in the business office, make sure people get paid, and budget codes, all those really fun things. That as a teacher, I had no idea existed, right? I just put the requisition in, and the next day, the whatever it I asked for showed up in my classroom, and I know there's no magic anymore. That's how it works. So now we're available for questions or start.
Very thorough, thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have been advocating for this, something like this since I come here. I believe the figure was 12% food aid when I was in school 20 years ago, and we're well above 40% now. So I see this as like an existential crisis threat to our school district. Like you mentioned, the middle class just being eviscerated. So I don't know. I would like some ideas about, I don't know that, I'm not sure if we need a full-time or if we could merge some aspects with Saranac Lake. I think that would make members of the board very interested if there could be some sort of shared services. I know that we're at least in Essex County, so there's definitely some crossover countywide. And I don't know how we, just to get that idea out there, whether I think, like I said, I think the board would be more comfortable with this idea if there was a sharing services, whether it be with Saranac Lake or Keene or one of our other neighboring schools.
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
So Erica has two jobs. Actually, I planned on this being a social worker. When Erica wrote me a letter and said, I've got this really great idea. I could be your UPK coordinator, because Trish Kenyon used to do that. And that was one of those things when you were low man on the totem pole. Oh, by the way, you're also going to be the UPK coordinator. And nothing really came of it. It was not done correctly in overseeing our UPK. Did you ever have that job? Yeah, so it just got passed along, and so Erica wrote about doing a combination of the UPK coordinator and community schools. And there are certainly places where it is a shared service between districts. I think because of the work that's involved is so community-based, it would be difficult to share that service. You certainly can go out and look at that. It's getting to know your community that maybe the better way to hook that together would be to hook it with some other things that maybe could be strengthened that you would like to invest in as a board to make it a fuller position. And the UPK works pretty well because the UPK has times when it's heavy and then other times when there's not much to it. And our second person is going to be our DEI coordinator in the district. We have a DEI committee that's very active, but a little scattered. They're a little like firecrackers right now because there's people from the community and they all have great ideas, but there's no anchor in the district for them. So it's running a little in 100 directions. So that's actually our second person will be our DEI anchor. So I would just suggest you might, if you don't find a partner, the other thing you could do is make this a bit of a more robust position, especially starting by adding some of these other pieces to it where you as a district might have some spots for.
Diane and Erica. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First and foremost, I want to personally thank the two of you for venturing over from Saranac Lake this evening. Listening to your overview, I think you've given us a model for us to strive. You've set the bar really high, listening to all of the amazing things that you accomplish in the district. I personally work with Erica as our early learning center. She is the universal pre-kindergarten. She oversees our program as a community-based organization. And I can fully attest on so many levels the different areas that I have seen Erica accomplish in the district and the impact that it has had on our children in center, from the toddler level right up through children that are in 6th grade. And I hope that our district can find the means and facilitate a similar position, and just to have you as role models for us to follow, I think would be incredible. So again, I greatly appreciate the two of you taking the time out of your busy schedules to come over and to give us your thoughts on your very successful program in Saranac Lake.
Well, I don't think there's a question whether this is needed or not. I think it's a question of, putting the bumpers in the gutters
Yes.
so that we're not all over the place with it. I've been approached by the food pantry here in Lake Placid. Potentially, so that was a shock to me that you have the food pantry in the school. And approached by them, do we have space? Can we make this part of the school community, the ecumenical food pantry? So that's where we can start to get scattered. So finding someone that can really keep us in our lane, so to speak.
I would add to the food pantry, because that's one component, but the Grace Pantry is out of Saranac Lake, and the Grace Pantry provides non-SNAP eligible benefits. So paper towels, toilet paper, shampoo, deodorant, dish soap, cleaning detergent, laundry soap, anything that they cannot purchase that with their benefit. So what's a family to do when they can't afford the cleaning solution and the roll of paper towels? And so that service, so this is sort of what happens in the community school model. That service is available on Wednesdays at 3:30 in the afternoon. Well, we're certainly hoping that our families are working, so they couldn't get to the Grace Pantry, or they didn't know it existed. So we worked with the Grace Pantry to have a school-based Grace Pantry. I write to them or call at a drop of a hat. I need 15 life kits. They arrive at the door with a smile and call us anytime. So all of those things are in my office or the superintendent secretary's office. They're everywhere because we never know,
Because
right?
life kits are very important.
Yes, they are. And so I can deliver them to a nurse's office that same moment, or a family's home. And the other gift about the food-based pantry in the school is that you can bus food home to families who don't have transportation to get here, and to your community members who are along your bus route anyway, should they wish to receive food delivered. And we see that all the time. So yeah, invite them in. You will be so happy.
What's your background? Teaching background.
No.
I figured that out.
Yes.
I'm an elementary school teacher,
Okay.
and this is my 17th year with Saranac Lake. I taught everything from pre-K to 4th grade.
Thank you.
And I would encourage you to cast a wide net. It's really the person, rather than whether it's a social worker or a teacher or a community school civil service job. We're really looking for the right fit for the position. We've had our community school coordinator position open since June and just filled it because we've had applicants, we've done interviews. They were lovely people for other jobs. It's not the right fit for this job, and we really waited for it. So
Can you speak to that briefly, Diane? And I'm going to obviously talk to you offline about this, but I think this is helpful to discuss here. I guess one of the things I'm curious about is how do you Erica, how do you interact with the leadership structure in the district in a meaningful way? And Diane, if you were in our position and could potentially be looking for someone, what qualities do you feel they should possess?
Would you like to go first or?
Sure.
Okay.
So, for all of the other years as a classroom teacher, my first administrative person was my principal. And that has been removed. My direct supervisor is Mrs. Fox. And that has really opened doors because, I am a teacher, right? But well, you'll be surprised. But this allows me a little more leverage, and the administrators need me, right? Like when they need, no joke, 15 life kits today, I'm their saving grace. So that's sort of what that looks like. And I've also been in their world for a long time. So they've seen me grow as a teacher and now in this role also. And I'm right across the hall from Mrs. Fox, so she doesn't get to leave me ever.
But you come to a lot of our administrative meetings, even if you're just there temporarily for certain topics, but I always tell her she's in that weird quasi-administrative role because she does support all of us in the work that we do. Administrators call her all the time. This family just moved in. The kids say they don't have any place to sleep. It's a call to Erica, who help us out with a lot of that. Just for connections, social workers, psychology, she uses it a lot too, because of all the connections that she's made. No one person in the district beyond her has that connection with so many of the community organizations. So looking for somebody, we just went through that process and just talked about what we were looking for. We want somebody who understands what we're talking about, not just on paper, but what does that really, when we talk about an asset limited family, what does that really look like to that family? Doesn't matter that you haven't lived it, but it matters that you haven't had an opportunity to ever experience that, only read about it. So you really want somebody who understands the targeted group. You want somebody who understands some community organizations. It actually doesn't have to be the organizations that we work with. We just want somebody who's got some ties already in the community, who understands that networking of a community. That was really important. Who they network with, we didn't really care, just they knew how that worked. And there's just a feel. We know our administrative group, we know our faculty, and really just looking for somebody who will fit in our school family. So there's no magic bullet, but it's sort of those, you know it when you see it, and you will know it when you see it.
Erica, how long is your position funded?
Forever. It's funded through the general fund. So I'm considered a TOSA, teacher on special assignment. So I'm still in the teachers union, and as long as we'll have it. There's no grant pays my salary or benefits.
But that $1 million or $2 million grant, that was related but separate?
So Erica did the work on that so that we could be, there's 3 school districts that were included in that grant. And I don't think you were included because you're Essex County, but the offer was given to all of the Franklin County schools, and 3 took advantage of that. And one of the reasons we took advantage of that is because I sent the email right to Erica's desk, who had time. There was a lot of work to dig up the background that we needed to support the grant. And I don't know that anybody else would have, I'm not casting shadows on the districts that didn't participate, because if it had come to my desk, I would have said, oh, that's a really nice thing, but I don't have time for that right now. But because I had Erica, who I could forward the email to and say, hey, what do you think? Should we participate? And she collected the data for us from all the different people and coordinated it. We were able, and we participate in quite a few grants that way, that just has her hand in so many meetings and organizations that we are often the thought about partner for a grant because we're at the table. And that's been really successful for us. All right, we've taken a lot more than our 20 minutes, and I apologize.
No, I apologize.
No, this is great.
Thank you very much.
And you have my
Thank you.
card.
Inspiring.
You have my card, so please call or
Thank you.
email. I'm happy to answer any other questions or support you as you start this work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very,
it.
very much.
You want our phone?
I had to put that back in the guidance office. They were reluctant to let me.
That could be tomorrow's quiz. All right, call your mother.
Do you know your phone number?
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Treasurer's report are you doing an overview of the treasurer's report
It's,
or just what's there?
there, I had asked, Dana to provide his thoughts with relation to it.
Any questions on the treasurer's report?
Every year I ask, what the heck is a cash sweep? And every year Dana explains it and I
It's
still.
the interest. It's the interest that gain that goes into another account. No, I believe that's it.
Best to let Dana really weigh in on this.
That's what I was stab at it, but that's my, after all these years, it's the interest. Goes
You
to something.
sounded so confident.
Yeah, well, of course, I can sell it. I can sell any idea pretty good.
I'm gonna,
Powers of persuasion, you know?
I'm gonna draft Dana's email.
Yeah.
Answer my phone.
You ever ask every year, and every year I believe it's the same answer.
And I never get it. It just, it's jargon.
Yeah, so it's because we have all this money in the millions. And so even if it's at like 0.5%,
Dana says. Martha, insured cash sweep is where we put our excess cash in quotes. We do this so we can earn interest and it isn't just sitting in our checking account. The money is placed in other banks all around the country in amounts that keep it federally
oh,
insured.
that's the other part of it, insurance.
And then he goes on to say,
pretty close.
Partial credit.
sweep,
I was gonna go with 60%.
Yeah. I get D, but I saw the yeah. Go.
sweep means the movement or transfer of funds from our bank to other participating ICS banks and back.
Attach that where we put the board goals.
Yeah.
Really have it.
Any other questions? How about the budget performance report?
Just the main note is that basically we're operating similarly this past September to what we traditionally have done. And a red flag.
Information for the board, there's one item under the executive content. Any questions or comments on that report? If not, we'll go right on to the superintendent's report.
All right. So we've had a pretty busy couple of weeks. On October 14th, we held a community lecture with Mike Nerney on the state of marijuana policy and physiology. We had about 25 people attend. And of the 25, I'd like to thank representatives from the town of North Elba who attended the presentation. The conversation was informative and entertaining. And the district will be working to have Mr. Nerney present to our students and staff later in the year as well, given the excellent job that he did. And Aaron and Rick, I know, were there and can attest to the value of the discussion. The district has been working in close consultation with Walgreens in Lake Placid, and they were able to provide a Pfizer booster clinic for our staff last Thursday. We had over 40 members of our staff with their Pfizer booster administered. And thankfully on Friday, there was no negligible reaction that necessitated really any changing in our parts of operations. So very fortuitous that we were in that position. And we thank Walgreens for their help. Last week, the elementary school dedicated the new playground. I appreciate Rick and Martha coming out to represent the district in that capacity, as well as members of LEAF and Uline Foundation. And I just want to acknowledge I mean, Sonia had this vision 7 years ago and brought this to fruition. So Mrs. Franklin really should be very proud of that type of legacy. That's outstanding. And the playground is objectively sick. I love it. I've been down the slide myself. It's epic. When it was delivered, I went down in a suit. Zero shame. The district expects to receive 2 ID Now machines from the Department of Health within about a week. These machines are going to allow us to conduct diagnostic testing of our symptomatic staff and students in real time. Results from these machines can be given in 13 minutes or less. I would also like to thank the team at Adirondack Medical Center for their partnership with the district as they have helped to defray the stress that has come with the need for testing of symptomatic staff and students. They have done their best to expedite all staff testing and all student testing to ensure that logistical considerations are not adding to a student or staff member being out of the district. So we thank them for that. When we have the ability to use these ID Now machines within the week, students and staff will be able to do this at no charge. It's a massive benefit. Presently, to have a symptomatic COVID test conducted, it typically costs an average of $80 a test. And insurance companies, by and large, are no longer covering. So this is a tremendous boon to the district to have this capacity on our doorstep. The district is working closely with Essex County Health to plan for the vaccination of students within the ages of 5 to 11, once the authorization for use is given by the FDA. Tentatively, it appears that early November could be the window of time where authorization could be given. So we're excited about, I actually just got goosebumps, just the prospect of having that layer of protection for our kids is wonderful. If there is a situation where doses are available, parents have consented within the 5 to 11 age group, we will likely try to plan any type of clinic around the Thanksgiving holiday to account for any reactions that may come from a vaccination. So more to come on that, but very exciting. I'd like to draw some attention to our school librarians for just being awesome. Caitlin Patnode is starting a tutoring program after school in the library, where high school students will help middle school students and struggling students in specific subjects. I want to commend Ms. Patnode for this initiative. I think it's outstanding. On the other side of the library, our elementary librarian, Kat Haney, has spent the past several days setting up the ever anticipated book fair, which is kind of like the Super Bowl for librarians and students under the age of 10. This is an anecdote. Yesterday, Kat hit a deer on the way to work. She's okay, thankfully. But knowing that the day was full of excited students visiting the book fair, she found a way to ditch her barely destroyed vehicle and got to work to ensure that decoder pens could be purchased en masse. She's actually here this evening right now running a nighttime book fair for students. So librarians stepping it up in a big way. We certainly appreciate what they're doing. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our outstanding cross-country teams. This past weekend, the Lake Placid girls placed first and the boys placed 9th out of 18 teams in Saratoga at the Burn Hills Invitational. I reached out to Coach Mel Frazier to try to contextualize this for a moment. This is what she said. The teams are put into 3 divisions based on student numbers in grades 10 through 12. Therefore, there were many Class C division schools in our division. Even with that, the girls walked away in first place. The place of the top 5 finishers of each team are added together for the team score, while 7 runners make up the team. Lake Placid had their top 5 girls all in by the 21st place. 8th grader Samantha D'Amico won the overall race in a time of 18:45, which averages to 6 minutes and 10 seconds a mile for 3 miles. I'm feeling old. Unbelievable, Samantha. The girls' Class D race at the state meet will be extremely close and exciting between the top 4 ranked schools, with LP being considered one of the top 4 ranked schools. States is on November 13th at Shenango Valley State Park in Binghamton. This is what else Coach Frazier had to say. In my 15 years of coaching, the girls team of 2018 took 5th place. That is the best they have ever finished at the Burnt Hills Invitation. Section 7 teams rarely win this invitational. So I think we have an exceptional cross-country squad. And certainly I'm very proud. The coaches are crushing it objectively, so keep that going. In other news, the student dress code survey closes out this Friday. So far, we've had 288 responses, 151 parents, 74 staff members, 68 students, and 10 community members. 45 individuals have offered to participate in a committee, of which the membership will likely be around 16 to 18. But this is a blessing in disguise for a number of reasons, one of which is that we have over 30 parents that are genuinely interested in committee work for this district. So that's outstanding. And I certainly think there's an opportunity to try and unite those parents in a common cause for a variety of issues. So engagement is high. I'm very pleased about that. What else do we have going on? Oh yeah, this whole deal. So it's School Board Recognition Week. And we would like to show our appreciation. Everyone talks about the pay, and it's nice, but it's not everything. For me, I'm just joking aside, very appreciative. Our school board members, we have Dr. Preston, who has served from 2013 to the present. Mr. Marvin from 2017 to president. Ms. Hallett Valentine, who served in 2011, and then from 2017 to the present. Mrs. Locke, 2018 to 2022. Mr. Kennelly, we have from 2018 to the present. Richard Spear from 2018 to present, and Mr. Cash from 2020 to the present. The certificates will attach to the fridge. I encourage you to magnetize those at your earliest convenience. Only Dr. Preston may be concerned about it staying on the fridge, given the shaking that occurs on a regular basis. The maple syrup is from our former school psychologist, Randy Quayle. All proceeds from this sugaring business goes to fund the Ship and Youth Center. So I'm just going to ask that you don't shove this here. But anyways, all joking aside, thank you for your contributions to the community and the school. It is a pleasure to serve at your pleasure. So that is my report.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this group of parents who's interested in volunteering for a committee that might have a broader scope somehow. I've often wondered why this school doesn't have a parent-teacher organization. And so I'm curious what you think about that in relation to this group of people.
I see this as a springboard myself. That's what I'd like to see. I know I was told that the elementary has a group of parents over the years that have participated, like elementary friends, I think.
Right.
But to see a district-wide PTO, I think would be exceptional for the district. So yeah, if this type of engagement can lead to that, Martha, that's what I'd like to see happen in with honesty. I just think Miguel Cordoza, the Secretary of Education, was on NPR today, and he was talking at length about the primary goal of educational institutions right now should be increase engagement, parents. Yeah, this is emblematic of that. So that's what I hope happens in full disclosure, and nowhere to go but up.
What can the board do to support that?
I think you're doing it. I think you've done so by empowering me to follow up on items of importance to the students, to the parents. So we continue to operate in that fashion. I would hope that parents see that action corresponds with what actually they're bringing to the table. If that can happen, then who wouldn't want to participate because change can occur. So I think You're doing what you're doing.
And the spin-off of that as well is, I put it on, excuse me, new, under new items, and that is to attempt to initiate activities that will bring more individuals running to the board.
Yes.
And I think that will certainly, could be a springboard for that as well, so. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Linking goals with agenda items.
I think probably the presentation from Diane and Erica, that you could put students first and foremost, community first and foremost, perhaps.
Piggybacking on that, I think their presentation was also community outreach and involvement, because what you're learning from them is going to outreach and involve.
Also under goal 1, 6F through H, the new appointments. Oh, anybody else have any?
Finance is sort of an obvious one.
Okay, under the discussion portion, first item under discussion is the board self-assessment. Most importantly, thank you very much. We had 9. We have an N of 9 for this this assessment. I went through, and the raw data or the raw numbers is under public content. Something that I've done for the past three years is do a percentage based on grading the different, the strongly agrees, disagrees, strongly disagrees, so on and so forth. And then do a percentage of those, and you'll find that under the annual self-assessment under the executive part. Also took the liberty of taking last year's assessment, which was the same as this year's, and comparing the two. And we had 14 items that went down. We had 27 items that went up, and 2 that stayed the same. 3 years ago, I arbitrarily picked a percentage, and that is if we didn't achieve 50%, thank goodness that isn't the school values, but we'd have more graduates, I guess. But at 50%, if we could fall below 50%, then it's something that we need to take a look at. And just briefly, those items, there are 3 of them. Board is actively involved in both local and state levels in advocating for education legislation is 1. We're at 44%. The second one is at least once every 2 years, our board has a retreat or special session to examine our performance as a board outside of this assessment. Board members increase their leadership skills by participating in developmental activities within and outside the board district. So 50%, that's the same as it was last year. And that is it. I would like to blame COVID for a couple of these, but I don't want to do that. Definitely the outside education, I think a number of us were looking at heading to New York City, but now can do that virtually. Any comments?
I'm sorry, Rick. I did want to comment. I think you mentioned something about the regional or state involvement. I've been acting as the liaison for our district, and 2 of the last 3 years I have been able to meet with our state representatives, our senators. And this year I was boxed out of it, but I do feel as much as possible that I have been able to reach out in that category, and maybe people don't realize that, but this year, again, it was somewhat limited. It was virtual, but usually every opportunity that I'm given, I do at least try to get into the mix.
Yes, thank you for that. I know it's limited this year, so. Are there any other comments on those? Do we need to address these further?
I'd like to get step back and kind of meta about it. Did we write this ourselves?
The assessment?
Yeah.
It was a NISBA
Right.
tool.
It's so long.
It is. And we could certainly, for future
So
assessments,
board eval, we could sign up to get a self-assessment through them so that it's not, this is why we went to the full, the super eval, excuse me, thank you very much. Was to take away some of that minutia of compiling all that stuff and trying to put it on one piece of paper when you have a platform that will do it all.
So the open-ended questions, I'm not going to read through the responses. There are a couple that I'll say concern me, which we'll leave those for another time, but certainly if you have any comments on those, please feel free. Most of the one that is concerning to me, it comes up 3 times here, and that is board members freely expressing their opinion during the board meetings as versus going to administration or going to superintendent, which is part of administration, but expressing their opinions directly to the board or at the board meetings as versus going to 2 of the 3 administrators we have, building administrators we have here, or Tim, regarding board business. And I don't know if that's the truth or not, but that's what I'm reading into this. So.
I think we've had this before, and this is
Yeah.
like the sweep account that you have to explain, like it's that you and Dan have a you do a agenda setting meeting.
Sure.
And that's where I don't know if people realize that that's like that you've already met on some of these. Yeah.
And Martha tended to get a flavor of what goes on.
Yeah.
During those.
So if it feels like some board members are, it's because they are.
Right.
You can too if you want to show up. What's it, an hour?
Is it a 7 a.m. Are we doing Fridays lately or
Yeah.
7:30.
7:30?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to, they're more than welcome to join in. You just have to let me know, like, because Martha reached out to me, she said, when can I be on the next agenda setting meeting? And I just included her in the Zoom link. We do it via Zoom.
But, Rick, it seemed like you were more indicating, excuse me, that during board meetings that there could be a board member or 2 even that don't feel comfortable expressing their opinion. Isn't that more what you were saying? Not necessarily agenda setting?
Yeah, specifically, it says there seems to be board members going directly to the superintendent concerns. Please work, or not please, it says work through the board. And then there's some Board of Education members just talk to administrators and then say nothing at board meetings. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think this gets brought up every year though. And I feel part of it is just agenda setting. Maybe not.
Last year it was
Yeah.
the specific statement that some board members seem to know more than others.
Yeah. And quite frankly, I mean, first year, I didn't know there was an agenda setting meeting. When I found out, I was like, oh yeah, with that. That's fine. They can know more than me,
I'll take the abridged version.
Yeah.
And it's really not a super secret society that we done Friday morning.
Exactly what a super secret.
Well, I think it took a lot of work, Rick, for you to compile this information again, and I certainly thank you for doing all of that.
You're welcome. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's not scientific by any means.
The time to draw all those
Oh
arrows.
boy, that was the most fun. With a
No, yeah,
sandwich in
thanks.
my hand, by the way.
Oh, super
It's
skill.
important.
Anything else on the board self-assessment? Now we'll go on to meetings, minutes, which is consent, personnel. The first agenda item under personnel is the consent. The recommended action is approve the items below, which are included in the personnel consent agenda. Items 6B through D. They have a motion to accept these items. Is E?
Yeah.
Sorry, B through E.
Emotion.
Thank you, Martha. Liam. Any questions? Anybody would like to remove any of those for discussion? If not, please vote. We're voting on. No, thank you.
Any of those cross-country kids will work well, so.
I saw the sign up list today. It looks pretty promising.
Karen, weren't we going to pull something out?
That's not,
That's
no,
next.
we're voting, it's a vote, Colleen.
Okay, I'm confused. Okay.
It's number, H.
Yeah, we're going through the specialists through the grant.
Oh, okay. I see.
individually.
So I have 6 yes and 1 abstention by Joan.
So the motion passes. We have, next up is 6F, which is appointment of district data coordinator. Recommended action is upon recommendation of the superintendent, appoint Amy Spicer as the district data coordinator for the 2021-22 school year. Coordinate. Let me start over. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, appoint Amy Spicer as the district data coordinator for the 2021-22, 2022-23, and 2023-24 school years. The stipend for the district data coordinator will be $6,000 per year. They have a motion to accept this position.
Yes, I'll make that
Yeah.
motion.
Colleen?
Colleen,
Yes.
any discussion on that?
I'm curious, when she takes on this big responsibility, what comes off her plate?
A wonderful question, Martha. I think part of this is fortuitous that Amy is a good candidate in the sense that she's already in this. Diane kind of alluded to this when she was talking about Erica, this quasi-administrative role, because Amy's working towards her administration presently now. So she's getting her internship. So she already has at the moment some time within her day to account for that. So there's been a reduction in some of her classes to allow for that. So in that sense, it's going to be a hand in glove. I'm not sure that there's going to need to be a tremendous shifting of her schedule. It's going to be more just having like a district-wide alignment with all of our data. Right now we have pockets of data, either by content or by grade level or by building. But to have the long view of 2,000 feet view that we can look at and then say, okay, how can we act upon this and how legitimized is this from a district perspective? That's kind of the gift of this. So if it were anyone else, it probably would be, your question would be all the more worthy. Because she's in this unique circumstance now, I think it's fortuitous.
Any other questions?
She could be able, so she could be able to dovetail this into getting her requirements for.
Yeah, she has indicators that for her certification,
Yep.
so it's gonna be a hand in glove situation.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
No, I'm just waiting for you to vote.
Oh, yes.
That's 6 yes.
Yes, we have.
I'll mark you yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next up is the informational technology specialist appointment. On recommendation of the superintendent, approve the appointment of Timothy Baker information technology specialist with a probation of 1 year beginning November 4th, 2021, ending November 3rd, 2022. Salary will be $51,000 per year, prorated. This position is a 12-month position and will require passing a civil service exam. Position is not a union position. I have a motion to accept this appointment. Yes. Liam, second.
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Questions, comments?
But all this being, I just want to confirm, this is all being covered by the,
ARP?
Yep.
So there's different timelines for different positions. So how those timelines were determined to some extent was about the anticipated sustainability or need for longevity of the position. So because when budget season hit last year, nobody anticipated this need and applied that to the budget. We utilized ARP to cover this position this year. But what I've been saying, and certainly the staff and administration have been saying, is that this individual is going to address systemic needs in the district. And so it really needs to be a sustained position, particularly with us going one-to-one with all of the devices for the students. So to answer the question, the plan is ARP to cover this year for this individual. And then as we get towards first draft of budget in February, to build that in to the budget thereafter. And then the other ARP positions have different lengths of time based on the perceived longevity need of those as well. Does that make sense?
yeah, makes sense. We got for this year.
Yeah, so ARP is covering this position for this year. But we'll have a budget thereafter.
Everyone vote?
Joan, I'm curious about your vote.
I voted yes, but it just kind of disappeared before I could hit it.
Okay, I'll change it to yes. Thank you.
Okay,
7-6
yeah.
yes.
So the motion passes. Next up is the appointment of RTI Math Specialist. Recommended action is upon recommendation of the superintendent, appoint Amanda Blacksmith, initial certification in early childhood education and childhood education as the RTI Math Specialist at the elementary school for the 2021-22, 2022-23, and 2023-24 school years. Salary will be at $49,014 prorated beginning November 8th, 2021. They have a motion to accept this recommended action.
Yes.
Liam, second. Dan. At this time, I will also look for a motion to go into executive session. This has been requested to discuss matters leading to the employment of a particular person. May I have a motion to go into executive session, please?
Yes.
A second?
Second.
Thank you, Martha. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? Pass 6-0. Will be entering executive session at 7:40. We don't see you. Thank you.
Well, we thought that was our cue to leave, so.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I have to.
I got it alive.
I have to.
Once we stop streaming, we'll.
So we were at the Front Hills Invitational, and Sam not only won the girls' race, crushed. I mean, she was 30 seconds ahead of next. Yes, she is. She is an excellent runner.
That wasn't at Saratoga. Or,
Yep, that's the one.
that's right.
Like all your other activities, not